All right. I'm gonna ask you to just take 1 minute. Water break. 1 minute. So how is it like to Tenez pas move. But still, are you under arrest? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time for the Granby Cultural Group and this beautiful dance piece, the Master. But what is okay, showing? When we tell ourselves, I'm speaking on behalf of the folks of South City, and I'm speaking to those of you who are listening, and those of you who are viewing. When we call ourselves the cultural capital, that didn't come by error. C'est pas des bagages où on est pour moi sous compte mauvais dit nous c'est capital guilty Dominique Evenatia. C'est pas I can give you just for ça. We've worked towards that prestigious title, and I'm happy. What is also? I'm happy to be able to marry, and I'm happy that we here in South City Granby continue to play our parts in the preservation of culture. But there's no objection. Although people claim that culture is dying, and I'm sure my beautiful judge here, Madam Wicks, ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Ma Wicks, please. Let's give her a round of applause. Judge, I wear Ma Wicks, so I tell you Ma Wicks, but the Pierce will be some Ma way on 10 cars, they come Ma Wicks. And if the Pierce will report, they want to get come Ma Wicks too. You understand me? And if Ma Wicks ni wasili, hola? Because I know back on Vogue. No, this beautiful language we speak called Creole. We here in Granby hold it dear to our heart. If no one else wants to take the mantle, we in Granby will take it, right? And what is the occasion? Moi can changer. Les moi t'es tout petit, moi can changer. Mettre l'école, t'es capable de s'enfant. Pour qui ça? Pour le langage créole. Mais je joue, messieurs. Nous avons fait tout ça qui peine possible pour parler créole. Nous les créoles. Tout après ça, créole, nous varie, nous devons manger créole, habiller créole, tout bagaille créole. We happy too. But where does the foundation lies among our youth? South City Granby, give yourselves a round of applause. Because right about now, I have testimony that culture is alive and well. Creole, Messieurs, Mesdames, viva. Come, baby, come. You would have heard of her. Come, give me the tune, Come, give me a little bit behind my voice. Come on, give me the tune. You know that song? You know that song? I like to go. Let's go. Okay, maybe we should only song because when it comes to song, the words can be a little confusing. Nonetheless, thank you, DJ. But we're here to prove to the rest of the world how Creole is in our heart here in South City. Do you know who's playing?
Jasmine Stewart.
You know?
Jasmine Stewart.
Jasmine Stewart. Qui la joue Jasmine?
Whitney.
Ah, oh, Whitney. Ou c'est mon qui côté?
Belvie.
Ah, ou c'est mon Belvie. Ou quand c'est mon collègue bien court, et les gars qui est quoi, ils sont allés sur mon anneau. So c'est famille no ayo. Mon là qui n'a pas de chemin là, she's very short, but it's all supposed to know. What's your grand? Grandmama. What's her name?
Mary Jane.
Mary Jane. All right. So she's the grandmother of Mary Jane. All right. Because où est mes Creole?
Oui.
Pourquoi où est mes Creole?
Ici un bon bagage pour parler.
Monsieur Quick! Messieurs, mesdames, langage Creole c'est un bon bagage pour parler. Parce que où est mes Creole?
Oui.
Bon. Qui ça vous ça dit moi en Creole? Vous savez comment vous ça compter en Creole?
Oui.
Eh bien, comptez pour nous.
Yon, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, door.
Let me see who we made. Oh, it's alright. Hey. There are many folks here qui passent même oui avec toi. Je vais pour 12. Qui apprend nous parler créole? Ça c'est Mary Jane. Mais c'est Mary Jane, pas qu'on parler créole. In case you did not know, now you know. Tout ça, on cherche oui, mais créole. Là, on finit quoi? Qui ça, on sait qu'elle est fait? Docteur. Aïe! Eh bien, on peut imaginer là où c'est fait docteur, on va faire docteur créole. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the future of Creole culture here in Dominica. Thank you, my love. And say, di Mary Jane, mo kami ni Waitale. So, avant ce bon temps, il y avait des causes qui étaient Dominique mort. Il peut pas. Nous, les jeunes gens, vous savez, c'est qu'il fait contribution à une belle, qu'il nous pour préserver. Kilty Dominic. No pass off upon your lad we have to embrace him. But what is that? I want to apologize for those of you who are viewing, those of you who are listening. Moi, je ne peux pas parler anglais. Et on passe même parler anglais. So you parler créole, you understand? You understand me? Our next one ready? Pourquoi? Well, I go across to the DJ. Tell us, okay, well.
Le monde est tout petit, nous avons changé. Le monde est qu'à l'école, mais l'école, c'est qu'à battre l'enfant. On l'a pour l'école, pour l'engagement créole. On a changé l'âme de tout petit. En commencement, l'âme de qu'à l'école. Même l'école, c'est qu'à battre l'enfant. On l'a pour l'école, pour l'engagement créole. Et puis, l'engagement créole, c'est pour yo. Pour l'engagement là, joli, c'est non pour yo. Joli, l'engagement créole, c'est pour yo.
Thank you, teacher. All right, our program is running smoothly here tonight. Yes. All right, so we're getting ready for presentation of our next dance piece. As we say within the Mazouk adult category, Shanti Saman. Let's welcome on stage the Pity 7 Cultural Group and Mazouk. Alawas, Mazouk Alawas, something a little, hey, different here tonight. Woo! Yes, of course, this was the Peniston Cultural Group. Yes, so we'll ask our beautiful band, our energetic band, to retire alongside Dede. Let's come out with Bamon Shen. Dede is an example, eh? Mbugai Shen. Dede, you have to stay there. We're still en place. As we continue with the presentation of this cultural festival here in the Southern District of Dominica, Guape! We are here live. It's a pleasure, of course, having those of you who are tuned in via radio and the various social media platforms, also the nation station, DBS Radio, and those of you on Evo Bonaposway. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, our next presentation is the Creole song, individual amongst our adults. As our production team ensures that our next act is ready, let's welcome on stage Bamboo, better known or the other way around, Wilfred Bruno in Creole song.
Looney Indian like it, Looney Moore, Looney Tobacco, Looney Teclado, Looney Jesu, Looney Waterfall, Looney Freshwater Lake, Looney in Maralpool, Looney to Bush. Exige Simone, Ubeni Dominica, Exige Simone, Ubeni Dominica, Exige Simone, Ubeni Dominica. Looney Boiling Lake, Looney Freshwater Lake, Looney in Maralpool, Looney to Bush, Looney Freshwater Lake, Looney Globe Show, Looney Globe Way, Looney Globe Show, Looney Globe Way, Looney Layu River, Looney Indian like it, Looney Layu like it, Looney Indian like it. Exige Simone, Ubeni Dominica, Exige Simone, Ubeni Dominica, Looney Tuca de Puy, Looney Tuca de Maché, Looney Tuca de Puy, Looney Tuca de Maché, Looney Yankee, Looney Tigre, Looney Banane, Looney Yambla, Looney Darchie, Looney Chouron, Exige Simone, Ubeni Dominica, Exige Simone, Ubeni Dominica, Exige Simone, Ubeni Dominica, Exige Simone, Ubeni Dominica. Looney Boiling Lake, Looney Freshwater Lake, Looney in Maralpool, Looney to Bush, Looney Freshwater Lake, Looney in Maralpool, Looney Globe Show, Looney Globe Way, Looney Globe Show, Looney Globe Way, Looney Indian River, Looney Indian like it, Looney Indian River, Looney Indian like it, Looney. Exige Simone, Ubeni Dominica, Exige Simone, Ubeni Dominica, Exige Simone, Ubeni Dominica, Exige Simone, Ubeni Dominica. Exige Simone, Ubeni Dominica, Exige Simone, Ubeni Dominica, Exige Simone, Ubeni Dominica. Looney Indian like that, Looney Indian like that, Looney like that, Looney Globe Show, Looney Globe Blanc, Looney Globe Show, Looney Globe Blanc, Looney Layu River, Looney Layu like that, Looney Indian like that, Looney Boiling Lake, Looney Freshwater Lake, Looney in Maralpool, to Bush. Exige Simone, Ubeni Dominica, Adu. Exige Simone, Ubeni Dominica, Exige Simone, Ubeni Dominica, Exige Simone, Ubeni Dominica.
Yes, I. One more time for Wilfred Bruno alongside the Day in the Creole song. You wanna enjoy that? Ow. Let me see if I can test all you a little bit. Mr. Quick! Awa. We can do better than that. Remember, we're gonna send this through the airwaves and let the rest of the world know how we in South City, how we do it. Let them feel you. Mr. Quick! Hey, penny so guys, I'm so swift. Check the band, put it in my tab, please. When I'm going over since I'm done, All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna get ready, of course, from the legend here in South City, Grand Bay. This is why I say, when I say what I say it quails. I say it with no regrets. When I speak, I couldn't get there one. When I say it, I say it. One thing about Jawabe, when we say something, no hati, no have beauty. It's well said, it's well done. We continue, of course, to play our part in the preservation of our culture, and we have been blessed with so many contributors to that aspect of our culture, our beautiful cultural elder, another legend here from South City, Guape. Ladies and gentlemen, in Creole song, let's welcome again Mr. Gilbert Encore. Is it known as?
Yeah. Sakidu momo, momola mo. Sakidu mala, mola mo. Montile San Erika, Maria Corolla. Montile San Erika, Maria Corolla. Bonne qui mola, si bouillon et son, pour mon chantier, pour mon dossier. Pour mon petit pays, bonne qui mola, si bouillon et son, pour mon chantier, pour mon dossier. Pour mon petit pays, Sakidu mola mo. Sakidu mala, mola mo. Direction Erika, Maria Corolla, mola. Calconso et mola, qui criait mon bouche chanter. Mon direction Erika, Maria Corolla, mola. Muela, exuma, platoka. Mola, on est mola, pour bébé, mon Célestin Erika, Maria Corolla, Sakidu momo, mola mo. Sakidu mala, mola mo. Mon Célestin Erika, Maria Corolla, mon Célestin Erika, Maria Corolla, Dominique, Ibei, Pepe, Bernardi, Bel Moon, Motivate Willa, Como and the Two Cabini, Genda Cabini, Mola Pussy Poteo, Sakidu Mola Momo, Sakidu Mala, Mola Momo, Monsieresa Erika. Maria Corolla, mola, Calconso et mola, qui criait mon bouche chanter. Mon Célestin Erika, Maria Corolla, mola. 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 Calconso et mola, qui criait mon bouche chanter. Calconso et mola, qui criait mon bouche chanter. Mon Célestin Erika, Maria Corolla, mola. Merci.
Thank you so much to our cultural elder here in South City, more so out of 10th Morn, Mr. Gilbert Angle, for this beautiful Creole song. One more time for Earth. DJ, check me on stage, please. DJ, come to my rescue, our DJ, our house DJ. Still, I want to take this opportunity to again invite you to support our various events during our independence celebration. Flag Day again this coming Monday, beginning 6 a.m. Avant jour 20, nous allons mettre flag nous doit pour nous tout partout. Mais c'est nous allons montrer la ouest dans la terre qui ça y est pour bien représenter un bel pays, Dominique. Avec plus belle droit pour la terre ça là. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not yet given your children a flag, on passe à 20 by right, nous tous supposons un flag à Kaïdo. Même si on porte en chemise, n'importe ça y est, nous tous supposons un flag à Kaïdo. You understand me? Because you have to continue to display this most beautiful piece. But again, if you have not yet done that, we want to ask you to join us in the celebration of Flag Day this coming Monday. Students, tell them how to go and get your flag. So this is something, so there is a dimanche. But still, we're hoping that, of course, we represent this beautiful nation, the Commonwealth of Dominica, when Flag Day comes on Monday. Messieurs, nous parlons pièces flag qui détiennent. One. Nous parlons pièces flag qui perroquet avec parrot la camanche en patte. Nous parlons ça. Nous parlons pièces flag avec droit pour les perroquets à regarder en l'autre sens comme si nous voient derrière. Nous parlons ça. And also in the world of my weeks, you know what? No albino flag. Or flag. Different color, multicolors. No, we know the colors of our flags. Say purple, no purple. You understand? The next now I got the perroquet. I took perroquet and purple. We have to treat our flag with. Moje, what's the word? Like English is not my forte. Mama, help me. What is the word you're looking for? How do we treat our flag? With pride. Hélas, that's a tight one for me. But of course, we want to continue to do all we can do to preserve every aspect of our culture. But Flag Day, we want to present to the world what it is to represent a country, a beautiful country. And ladies and gentlemen, we are celebrating 47 years of progress. Messieurs, let me just stress on the word purpose. We have purpose here in Dominica and we need to continue to showcase that to the rest of the world. The EO Lebanon annual lecture, carded for 14th of October, taking place at the UE Global Campus. We will encourage you to take, if you can attend, of course, stay tuned for that. This will be live on the Nation Station. National Heritage Day is also coming up on the 19th of October in the beautiful community of Newtown under the theme. It's a whole day event. Toute la journée, messieurs. C'est journée héritage. The National Madam Walk Tuyet Pageant, October 22nd from 8 p.m. at the Old Mill Cultural Center. The National Miss Walk Tuyet on the 29th of October, also at the Old Mill Cultural Center. Et bien, nous allons inviter les hommes ici pour mettre toutes belles tanzans, toutes belle robe, so toute belle habillement créole, so no holding back on the 41st of October. And we are, of course, going to parade for the beautiful streets of Roseau. We're going to showcase to the world what it is to marcher comme yes. And of course, the National Cultural Gala taking place at the Botanic Gardens on the 2nd of November 2025, beginning at 3 p.m. I saw somebody in the alley there. He wanted to dance with me. Il est mon danser. Mon ramadezo, pas test, mon pas mon invitation, c'est parce que keep up. Lobster, come and check me, please. Lobster, yes, ma'am. Okay, I love that. Lobster, come to the backstage, please. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're getting ready for our next presentation as our Jinping band is making their way on stage one more time for the final Jinping piece. Of course, to go along with our next dance presentation. Yes, because I know that power economy see présenter un autre aspect danse créole, danse traditionnelle, tonique. Ladies and gentlemen, our next dance presentation as we go to this beautiful community on the southeast side of Dominica. Pilit Savan Cultural Group will come alive as it presents Puka Merengue. We have much more for you on our program here this evening. The drumming ensemble, the string band, and of course the most intimate of our dance piece will close the windows here tonight on this cultural festival. Once our band give us the heads up, we'll go around to our next presentation. Lobster, stand by. We're coming to you. No one go away. So we must have a little of from Lobster. Yes. Parce que nous avons fait ce qui tout bagaille préparé tout bagaille en ordre. Avant de nous présenter un différent aspect danse traditionnelle tonique. Nous avons présenté puis Puka Merengue or the belle communauté d'Isavan. Yes sir. It's coming up in just a little bit. We'll just ask for your patience as we allow our band members to get themselves ready. Once I get the thumbs up, they'll go ahead, do power. Okay, so we have a little tibay, project on tibay. Nous avons fait temps pour nous manger ça vite, a little hiccup, a little old chat. You know when you have a little old chat, what you have to do, right? Drink a little water. But Lobster, when you tea old chat, you want to glow. But we're not going to allow that to dampen our beautiful cultural spirit here. For the Sovereign District Cultural Festival, let's ensure that Daily Mike is up. Our technician is working on that day. So, I don't want to chance. I don't want to confiance. Even no power. I don't want it. Ladies and gentlemen, the Pilit Savan Cultural Group in Puka Merengue. Whoa, I love my culture. Yes, I. One more time for the Pretty Seven Cultural Group. In the polka merengue, one thing I must, of course, it's not a competition, so I think I can make a few statements here, there, and there. Commend the Pretty Seven Cultural Group for taking our traditional dances to the next level. Because some of the dances that they practice today, you don't see that anywhere else. The polka merengue, of course, they present this beautiful piece, Masuk, a while ago. But I was, of course, looking forward to one of the most famous pieces to me from the Pretty Seven Cultural Group will be the Lancer. But I'm hoping maybe next year in competition, we can see that from the Pretty Seven Cultural Group. Missy, nous allons continuer. But this time, we're going to speak to our ancestors. As our grandparents would have had the opportunity to communicate to their ancestors, more so during this time of slavery. We would have used the drums to communicate with their fallen fathers and mothers. And today we continue to practice this aspect of a beautiful culture. The drumming, as we connect once again with our forefathers. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome on stage another aspect of our culture here in Dominica, the drumming ensemble. We welcome on stage the Natsuel Cultural Group. Yes, I. One more time, ladies and gentlemen, for the Not Well Cultural Group. What is that coming, mon Dieu? We are waiting, of course, our next group. Yes, a song. Yes, as we continue to communicate with our ancestors, to connect, and we continue, of course, to say thanks for bestowing on us this beautiful culture, this beautiful tradition. As we continue, of course, to appreciate over the years, many more years. And I'm sure the folks of Grand Bay, South City, can attest to the fact that we've had so many elders who have paved the way in the preservation of Dominica's culture. Tim! Oh, wow. We're getting ready for next drumming a song. Tim! Zone class, mes opana. Mon gars espérer donner trois tambours pour arriver à ce stage là, pas seulement stage là. Tim! Quand on dit pour la manière de Tim. La cara de Betty da Boss. Miss Weeks. Was that stop? Was that waiting? Was that they don't even stop, no stop. The people Weeks will stop, no stop. Was that my Weeks was that waiting? No galo. Bye. Tim! Gale mama se o tio uma cabine que sa moye. Oh, ça va ouvrir la porte. Et puis les autres ont ouvert la porte sans invitation. Ils vous ont knock. Est-ce que vous les ont commis? Mais à part des autres, vous avez un dépendant. Tim! Yo pouvez voir chez la commission arrivée avant moi. Pas de combien, non? I have the right to enter where I want. Go but where? Tim! Yo pouvez voir chez la commission arrivée avant moi. Kisa, how weeks you are disqualified? Kisa? Oh, Coco? Just for some Coco? Oh, Kisa? Coco not? Because I see much of Coco while they are going. Because I see Coco tiens bien Jelly. Jelly arrive. Je ne sais pas différence entre Coco et Jelly. On sait pas même là. Coco. A jelly is a jelly. You understand? Because a jelly, I don't know, understand. Ladies and gentlemen, as we are about to wind down our program here for this evening, for the Southern District Cultural Festival for the year 2025, let me again just remind you, this is not a competition. It's a mere celebration of this beautiful culture of ours. However, we have to continue to promote it and present it to the rest of the world. As I get ready to present our next act on stage in a drumming ensemble, let's welcome. They go by a certain name, but I know that they have plenty meaning. Because much is speedy. But come on. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome in drumming ensemble, Veteran 7. Yes, yes, hi. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up one more time for the Veteran 7 and the presentation of a drumming ensemble at the Southern District Cultural Festival. As we're getting ready for the next cultural presentation, We're allowing, of course, our drummers to make way of stage. We'll go across to our DJ before we present to you our act before the last here this evening. DJ, give me a little something. Give Jean Bombay something to move. Give Jean Bombay something to make them feel you. In ancient times, we're going to present to you a little beautiful musical piece, one that is practiced only among folks from the Petite Savane. Our next presentation is the presentation of the stream presented by the Petty 7 Jinping Band. Give it up for the string band. All right, one more time for the Participant String Band. They thank you, Monsieur Shine. Give it up one more time, ladies and gentlemen, for this beautiful musical rendition. It's all about the string, an ancient piece practiced by the folks of Participant. We're happy that, of course, this continues to play parts in our culture here in Dominica. South City, are you there? Hey, we're just getting set for a final, ladies and gentlemen, our final presentation on our program here tonight. And it's another beautiful piece, one that is considered to be the fertility dance, one again that connects us to our ancestors, and we've had here in South City, Grand Bay, so many contributors of this beautiful dance of Bel Air. Most recently, Adriana Henderson, teacher Adi, Jadi, where you? Makaway. I suspect she went to get a drink because she's ready, because I think it's a favorite part of the entire program. But we in Grand Bay, we can be proud for continuous contribution in this beautiful dance piece. The Bel Air is gonna come alive right here on the Southern District Cultural Festival stage at the Community Center in Grand Bay. FMC Mokateo, Makwe ni Pearson Gisafei Konsa, as we welcome on the drum, Tabuye Abiyo. Yes. This is one of the pieces that most folks look forward to seeing during our various cultural presentation. And of course, we are pleased to present it to you once again here at this Southern District Cultural Festival. Mwentiwe sule mwempis mwempawe pu piche mwempawe pu sote. Esopawe mese. Awa. You'll have to support them, right? They need to feel you. You pouvez sentir ça avant de finir le stage là pour préparer yo. Est-ce pas ouais? Ça c'est it. Mais c'est mon pas ouais. Qu'on nous a bienvenue messieurs mesdames à ce stage, the Southern Cultural Festival 2025, presenting Bel Air Adults, the patriotic dancers.
I tifia pasa kawe bel mama muto kawe bye kawe bye yo bel mama muto kawe bye. I tifia pasa kawe bel mama muto kawe bye bye yo bel mama muto kawe bye. I tifia pasa kawe bel mama muto kawe bye bye yo bel mama muto kawe bye. I tifia pasa kawe bel mama muto kawe bye. I TV pasa kawe bel mama muto kawe bye yo bel mama muto kawe bye. I TV pasa kawe bel mama muto kawe bye yo bel mama muto kawe bye. I TV pasa kawe bel mama muto kawe bye yo bel mama muto kawe bye. Sambo Sambo
Yes, sir! Our ancestors are indeed happy here this evening with this beautiful Bella piece presented by the patriotic dancers. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a pleasure to be here with you once again to present to you the Southern District Cultural Festival. However, this is how we close our program here tonight. We will encourage you, of course, to support the various activities and events during our independence celebration. Tomorrow, our cultural festival continues to the north in the beautiful community of Paybush for the North and Northeast Cultural Festival. We hope to see your face in the place for those of you who are within that area, but of course you can continue to tune in live on the various social media platforms. Jacques Wabé! It was a pleasure having you here with us. It was a pleasure being your host for this beautiful event. I will see you again, Dominica. For those of you who have traversed to Ronso, I just want to, of course, encourage you to drive safely. We have an after party. Right here. Eh? Until Dominica, I love you, and be sure to return home safely. Dominica, until next time.
And that's it for the Southern District Cultural Festival. And we are celebrating 47 years, this year, 47 years of independence. Thank you for joining. From the looks of our numbers here, you enjoyed it. We had almost 200 persons viewing strong. So get ready for the DJ after party. You're hearing the voice of Dominica's